pozvali smo Zuzane da zapravo kaže što Brunnenpassage radi, na koji način radi sa zajednicom, na koji način uključuje različite skupine korisnika, na koji način se bavi temom interkulturalnosti. I to je zapravo na neki način i uvod u sutrašnji dan gdje ćemo zapravo započeti sa jednim razgovorom u kojem ćemo pričati o kontekstu zapravo društveno-kulturnih centara i na koji način zapravo oni mogu utjecati na razvoj gradova u nekom konkretnijem smislu. I kasnije u popodne krećemo sa raspravom u kojem ćemo govoriti o integracijskim politikama i u subotu onda se dalje pozabaviti tom temom. Tako da na neki način Zuzana otvara na neki način temu interkulturalnosti, a i današnja večernja predstava Stranac. Zuzana, dobrodošla, izvoli.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the translation. It's very nice. I'm Zuzana and I'm working at Brunnenpassage. And we are a space, as already Janja explained. Our slogan is Art for Everyone. And the vision and our manifest is basically based on the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and this is everyone has the right to freely participate in the cultural life of the community and to enjoy the arts. So we believe that it is a human right to be part of culture. And we posed the question, like, is it true? Is it working? Art for everyone? Because on the example of Vienna, it is known as a big cultural city, and it certainly has a big funding for culture. However, how the money is distributed is not really reaching a major part of the population. Like, in the end, it's only a few % of the people who are really reached with the high culture that is mainly in the center, and a lot of people are very much underrepresented, like in terms of who is the audience, but also what topics are discussed in the events or in the theater plays, or just what kind of content is provided, or just part of the discourse, and also who is reached. So, people like of lower income or education, migrants, younger people, elderly, and a lot of minorities do not really have this access to art, and our goal is to provide this access to art, contemporary art, while keeping the art quality as well. So a few facts about the space. Now it exists, next year it's going to be 10 years, so not quite also not as big and as old as UFA, but we are in the middle of a market in the outer district, in the 16th district of Vienna, and this is also part of the concept. We're not based in the center, where anyway there is a lot of things going on. We are on the outskirts in order to really reach the community that usually doesn't go into the Staatsoper, or the main theaters and so on. We have basically program every day, very interdisciplinary. Many. I will come to the program later. We're reaching more than 20,000 visitors a year, and there are, of course, there are a lot of spectators, but our formats and our concept is based also to really make it possible to actively participate. Like, there are a lot of workshops, and also participation is a big part of our goal. And the target group is mainly the residents around in the 16th district, and there is this one Viertel, or like a quarter in the 16th. It's called Brunnenviertel because there is a Brunnenmarkt. It's a big Turkish Serbo-Croatian market that's quite long, just coming across the street, and our space is at the end of this market on a square, and it used to be a former market hall that was then rebuilt. So we're really part of this neighborhood, and all of participation is for free. In order to allow free access, then it has to be free as well. That's the Brunnenmarkt. This is our space. So we see art as a tool for social change, and we see our space as kind of a space of encounter where people of very different backgrounds come together. And we see that, like, we try to use that potential for art production. And yeah, as I said, this active participation is a tool for empowerment in many ways. And also to gain self-confidence, to get a chance to be on stage or be a part of, through an art project or through just participating in a cultural event, you get to know people, or you get in touch with people much easier that you wouldn't get just on the street. And yeah, Brunnenpassage really sees itself kind of as an experiment in this way and as a model project, and we also try to collect the experiences that we have had over the years and to pass it on, and we're in constant touch with also other institutions and so on. One big important part of the concept is cooperation, like not to stay only in this the bubble and only address the community, because in this way you just stay self-referential and you provide community work. But what's very important is to build this bridge. Like, we have a lot of cooperations with institution in the center, or like we had projects with the Volkstheater, which is one of the bigger theaters in Vienna, or the Staatsoper, Konzerthaus. Like, they're constant, and we're constantly in touch in order to build new projects that make the bigger institution centers aware of us and our audience, to make them aware of what other things are available in the city, and to start a dialogue and to try to shake things up in a way, because we believe that it's necessary to kind of be a space that represents also the diversity that is existing in the city. Like, I mean, diversity is a reality, and in many ways it is not represented. And that's not just true for Vienna, it's for a lot of cities, I'm sure. Yeah, I think that's, yeah, and so there are different levels of corporations, and we're also very connected to small organizations around that are, I don't know, like small Vereine, like small clubs, like the Turkish club, or different already communities that are formed, and we try to also provide space for them when they have events. Like, there are a lot of corporations of many levels. To the program, we are, I mean, diversity is the big thing, and so when we think of the program and what we provide, we always think of, okay, how do we reach, how do we make program that's interesting, and how can we reach also the migrant community in our neighborhood, and also building these bridges that I talked about, and to make program that is interesting to a lot of different people. And I mean, there are some events where we only reach one target group, but then there are others where it starts mixing. And the main genres, we have theater, dance, music, film, and we have one label kind of crossover for a lot of interdisciplinary projects that we can somehow label. And we have kind of, there are a lot of things that are regularly running, and there are different levels. Like, one is the workshop projects, and they are also, in terms of workshops, we have some which you can just come without any prior experience, and you just come and experience, and there's no binding also. Like, you don't have to come back in the next time, but you can, of course, and you're always welcome. And then there are workshops that are building up. Like, there are some dance workshops where you actually rehearse for an entire semester or an entire season, and then there is a performance in the end, and so on. So there are those different levels. We have productions, co-productions, and performances. We have a mobile truck, which is very nice. So we're also mobile, and we go out into the city. It's like a big truck that can be rebuilt into a stage. I will show pictures later, and where we can just participate in festivals or make our own events and do interventions in public spaces. And we're connected with schools and research, advanced training. I mean, the team is constantly developing as well. I show a few pictures so you have a bit of a feeling what there is, and then I will talk a bit more. This was the opening 9 years ago now. It was because we are cooperating with a group that's called Tanz die Toleranz, it's Dance the Tolerance, and they kind of grew up with us since 10 years, and we opened the opening of our space was part of the Wiener Festwochen, which is a big festival, a big theater festival. So we tried to, from the beginning, kind of find our space in the art and culture scene. We had 2 years ago a cooperation with Volkstheater, which was one of our biggest theater projects, because we are not like a theater space per se. I mean, you will see the space later on. We are just a very flexible space. It's a space that can be adapted to a lot of different formats. But cooperating with other theaters really gave us the chance to develop plays and then have them be played in our space and in the Volkstheater in this case, which was a huge benefit also for on one hand for our community and also for the audience in the inner district. The cast was 30 amateur actors, and it was an adaptation of the Shakespeare Storm, and a very long collaborative process over 2 years, and then it was performed in Volkstheater. We have a big stage, and it was really, really nice. There are workshops, just like this is our space. It's just a wide room, and it can be transformed. There's one format that's already going for a few years. It's a cooperation with Konzerthaus, with the concert house in Vienna, and it's called Sing Along, which we have a big choir, which is part of Brunnenpassage, and there's the cooperation with our choir and the orchestra of the Konzerthaus, and it's once a month where it's on Fridays it's in our place, and then on the day after they perform in the concert house, and everyone from the audience gets a book in their hand, and they're like the choir singing, the orchestra is playing, and all the audience is singing. And there is always a different topic. Like now, this weekend is actually Roma songs, and last time it was Latin songs and so on. But it's a very big event where everyone is singing together, which is quite a special. I mean, for us, it's kind of, this is how our space is working, but it's quite a success to do something like this in the concert house. Like it's a nice atmosphere, because usually you're just a spectator there. A theater play was Jelinek Schutzbefohlene in our place. And also since September last year, like as a space, we're also constantly learning and adjusting to what's going on outside. I mean, what's going on in the city, also politically. And therefore, and also, I mean, now with the refugee movement, it's also the population is changing, and we are a space that's very much adjusting to who is also living in our surrounding, and it became also a big topic for us. And like kind of as a team, we posed the question like, what is now important? Also, what new projects can we develop, and so on. I mean, this was. So in terms of theater and like also programmatics, we are just reacting to what's going on. This was an exhibition. I mean, we cannot really have. We're not a exhibition space as like where you can be a gallery for a month and then you take it down. So we always also think of how can you make an exhibition that can be built up and built down, in order to have all the other program, because every day there is something different. And also it's always connected with other formats. So there, in this case, it was called Dasein, and it was about being here and portraying people who are very in touch with us from the neighborhood. And giving them a space. Like it was portraits of them, but then also they were themselves part of the exhibition there, and it was kind of this living books format where you just talk to them, or like you found out. So it goes beyond to just like look at a photograph, and of course it's a photography exhibition, but then it goes further, and then part of it was concerts and other program that added. This was a Turkish theater group doing a kids theater performance. We have one project that's running already since some years. It's a DJ class for women that out of this collective developed. It's now there are 5 women that stayed, and right now we had a different class. The next class, it's like a intensive workshop course where they get the opportunity to learn to use the equipment, and then kind of we support them to develop further, and then I mean they go on to be in the club scene, but it's also an important project because a lot of women are also from different backgrounds, do not have a lot of opportunity to stand behind the decks in a club and so on. Like, so every project is kind of trying to provide an opportunity. And here it's quite small, but in the back you can see our truck. This was in Museumsquartier in the center. It's a big museum quarters, big cultural space where like the DJs were playing part of the opening of Impulse Dance of a big festival and so on. We have a lot of things in public spaces. This is our choir where we go outside. A theater workshop outdoors, which was about kind of political empowerment and activism in public space. There's the nice format which is called Tanzkaraoke, where ahead of time we ask people from the neighborhood to make a dance to a song, and then all of the people meet together, and they're doing like karaoke. How do you say karaoke? You, instead of singing, you're dancing with the person that's then invent the moves. And animation film workshops with refugees we did last year, where they had the opportunity to kind of tell their story through animation, and then we're part of a film festival. And the newest project, which was a big challenge last year, it was and it's now still in a work in progress, but we developed a sausage stand. It's called Avina Halal, which was a art intervention, and for us it was for the first time to kind of try a different format and also work with food. But it came out of a workshop that was done in our space, and it was the motivation behind it was like in Vienna you have a big sausage culture. You have like Viennese sausages are everywhere. It's like the main street food, and a lot of people who are Muslim cannot eat these sausages, and this was kind of became a topic in the workshop, just out of like the talks of the participants. And we worked together with a Turkish cook and an Austrian cook and developed Viennese sausages that are halal, like no pork, and that are made out of halal meat. And it's a mobile bike that now is going around, it's part of festivals, and we're trying to, I mean, one thing is to really like make a statement for the diversity, and we actually got a lot of attacks, kind of, from the community for which they said we're trying to provoke, but in the end we're just trying to underline what's there, and like update kind of the sausage, not to take away the Austrian sausage. And on the other hand, it was developed in the process with refugees in order to provide the opportunity to get income, because they were part of also developing the logo together, developing like the whole like a lot of stages. And now there is a team of 6 people, and we're trying to, we have multiple events per week and per month where we're at different festivals, and we're trying to get this going. And it's for us as an art space, it's an art intervention, and now we are at the point where we're looking for ways to make it into a social business and to give it away from our space, but support it, and then see that they can make a living from it, which is really not easy with, but I think a lot of you know why. There are some images. This was, and also in general, we work as a space also with a lot of, with just different languages in terms of, that's the logo, and also it was developed together with the people and so on, and the languages are all the languages that are spoken in the group. And now back to, in general, to our space. The way we try to reach out to the people, so we are trying to rethink like how advertising is working. And for example, we don't print 5,000 flyers per event, but we print only a few, and it's much more like giving it into the hands of the people, or putting it into the hairdressers and doctors' offices. And I mean, also just the way the building is done, it's a glass house basically, and it's sliding doors, so we're trying to have this very easy access to the space. And we work with many different languages based on what the program is. I mean, we show a film in a Croatian film, then of course we do make also Croatian flyers, because we try to reach the people. And I mean, it's always depending on what the content is. And we work a lot with photographs, because in general also, when there's a language, always multilingual, and the best also is when you don't have to use language at all, then another barrier is gone. To the team, we're 7 people plus 3 technicians, and it starts like, it's very diverse in the team, because we believe also it has to come from within. Otherwise, you do not reach the audience you want to reach. And it's very diverse in terms of background. Like, I mean, there are some people who do come from cultural management, but some not at all. Like, I don't know, my background is theater. There is another in acting and musician. One was a political activist before, or one just, and also in education, it's a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different languages again. And in general, we try to we work a lot as a team on new ways to work together, because it's a complex project somehow, and we're trying to also find always new ways of how to structure, because in the end we function that we have an art director and assistant director, but then there are very autonomously also people working in the different areas. Like, there's one person responsible for the music events, one for the theater events, and so on. And so there is a nice balance of having a lot of decisions that you can make yourself while still keeping together the same vision. And that's the team. And yeah, and just maybe for an end, like in general, like the challenges and so on that we face. I mean, there's a different type of sustainability that we're really trying to form, and it's been like work for 10 years, and we notice how long, like also in this context, like in the context of the conference, like a lot of this transcultural work or intercultural work, I think you have to have a very long breath, and we have noticed this. Like, we started out with I don't know, 1 event a week, and trying to reach people and like pull them into the space, and it's slowly, like since a few years, it's really working, that you really get the space full. And for the first time last year, we had experiences where we had to like send away people, which we didn't have before. Like then we did a second round where like to, act locally, and this collaboration with the other institutions. And also really to be part of the post-migration discourse, because it is big and it's not very visible. Like there are a lot of people who are trying to do similar work, a lot of organizations that do festivals, which are very great, but we noticed like they're just at one spot in a year and then it disappears again and then comes back. And we believe that it's very important to have a space that is there all year round and tries to constantly react and pull in the people. And also in terms of a model project that I mentioned before, Anne Wiederhold and Ivana Pilic, who are art director and before and now, they wrote a book which is called Art Practice in Migrant Society, and it is written as a handbook in a way that it's written in like almost as not instructions but written down experiences and kind of knowledge that we want to pass on for people who are interested in this field and want to also like maybe learn from our mistakes or successes. And and funding. That's also, I mean, Janja mentioned it's a kind of a special situation. We are part of the Caritas, which has, of course, advantages. We are part of an NGO and there is kind of a basic support structure. On the other hand, we are a art space that it's in a way that in this context it's quite schizophrenic, because we are in the cultural field, we are seen as a social institution and community project, but then on the other hand, on the social scene, we're seen as like some small project that does some art, you know, like it's always a struggle to be taken serious. And this we are feeling every year, because basically we're putting together our funding every year, because we're not funded by the Caritas. We are part of their structure and they are kind of giving structural support, but our budget is basically put together as a patchwork from city grants, from country grants, from project grants, from blah, blah. And then every year, one falls away, we struggle for the next. We, additionally to our limited resources and like juggling always more projects, because we are always very motivated, there is another grant to write and so on. So this is like the reality, how it's working. And this year is again a very big challenge, but somehow it continues, and next year is the 10-year anniversary, and we are thinking of how to also make this a topic. And there is also Ivana Pilic, who's now the art director. She is part of a platform that is organizing a conference next April that is discussing exactly this, like to demand a restructuring of cultural funds in a way, and like a different focus on things that we believe are relevant for the people and to actually represent the interests and the needs, as opposed to putting a lot of money into musicals or so on. So I mean, this, not everyone has the same opinion, but I think it's like also this conference. I think it's very important to talk about it, and you can only reach something if you connect. So that's also our strategy, to like try to, and also Trans-Europe Trans-Europe host, yeah. It's for example, it's also a network, and I think also like only through this network you gotta get a voice that's going to be heard, hopefully. Yeah. I think, yeah, that's the book. And if you're interested, I can tell you how to get it. It's transcript, Verlag, how you say it in English, publishing house. And that's the space. Thank you. Yeah.